When I see a couple in my office and one of the partners says that they feel smothered or overwhelmed with the demand of their partner always being there, always thinking about them, my first thoughts are of abandonment issues. If your partner has abandonment issues, they're going to expect you to always have them in mind first, which in real life, it very rarely works because let's face it, we're human and our partner is not always front and center in our mind. But if you've been raised in a way where you have abandonment issues, then you're going to need that constancy. You're going to expect it. You're somehow going to make that the norm. And not only is it going to make you miserable, but it's going to make your partner feel frustrated, smothered, and overwhelmed with their need of taking care of you. So I kind of want to go through a list of signs that you may have a fear of abandonment. Number one, you attach quickly, even to the unavailable partners or to relationships in general. You fail to fully commit and have had very few long-term relationships. So in other words, you want to attach quickly, but you have a failure with it because usually the other person cannot take that overwhelming sense. You aim to please. You engage in unwanted sex because you're looking for something to secure yourself in that. You struggle with being hard to please and nitpicky. In other words, you have a lot of expectations that your partner cannot seem to understand or match with their actions. You feel insecure and you have an unworthy feeling of love. You're jealous of everyone. And this gets better sometimes in long-term relationships, but not necessarily. You experience intense feelings whenever your partner leaves or makes you feel like they're not really secure with you. Those times are very difficult for you. You tend to overthink things and work hard to figure things out when your partner says something that's really not that deep or doesn't require that much thought about it. You contain your repressed anger many times, and you have control issues, and you engage in self-blame frequently. These type of people are pretty much classified as those individuals with some sort of abandonment issues. Now, I want to say that if you have abandonment issues, usually it is developed in your growing up years, and it usually develops very early. I think the age of 3 is when there's already, for most children, object of constancy, like someone is always there and they can rely on it. So if you grew up with any kind of interruption in that, maybe you moved a lot, or maybe maybe your parents weren't around, or maybe there was some trauma, maybe there was childhood abuse or some sort of chaos, or a sick parent where somebody else had to step in. That can sometimes do it. The effects of abandonment issues on a relationship may look like this. Okay, you have the getting to know phase, and this is where many times abandonment issues are not picked up because you're just getting to know each other. Your partners may feel really secure, the fact that you always want them around. They may really like that. Then there's a honeymoon phase. You guys are getting along great. This is a time of great love, and you think you have so much in common. And really, abandonment issues, once again, are under the rug, like you don't really notice them. Then there's the real relationship. The real relationship is when little things happen that the person who has abandonment issues wants a little bit more. They need a little bit more security, and they're a little bit less trusting. They're more suspicious in the day-to-day world. And then there's the slight. The slight is when the constant argument is about the person with abandonment issues says, you didn't think about me first. You didn't put me first. It can be something as simple as you go out and somebody you know from your past says, hey, hi. And you get caught up in the engagement of talking to them and you forget to introduce this other person that's significant in your life, this kind of thing can blow up. And you might say, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean it. I just hadn't seen this friend in a long time. It wasn't that I wasn't thinking of you, but if you have abandonment issues, this is extremely threatening. And then there's always the reaction. They overreact to anyone else in your life. Someone once said there's a song that says, I'm jealous of the sun because it shines on you. Basically, I think of abandonment issues like that. They're jealous of any relationship their partner has that takes their partner away from them, or they feel like they're second to this other relationship. And feeling second, it's different if it's consistent, right? But everybody feels second sometimes, and it's not a big deal. But it is if you struggle with abandonment issues. So what should you do? Because you don't want to continue to smother and overwhelm your partner with this. You want to deal with it. Well, the first thing is you have to be aware of it. You have to educate yourself about it. You have to be aware, track it down where it began. Maybe you were a military kid from a family that moved around a lot. It's not so, the significance is not so much where it happened, but it is extremely important that you can feel it, that you can envision it, and that you then have awareness of it. Secondly, I think it's really important that although, you have to deal, like you shouldn't really get stuck in the fear, you do have to identify the fear and you do have to work through it. So that's why I want you to imagine what it felt like as a kid so that you actually can start journaling about that fear. Because right now, that fear, that same fear that you're covering up is actually fueling your abandonment issues in every situation you have now with your partner. Thirdly, many people with a fear of abandonment felt like they never had a real tribe or a support group of friends. This is a wonderful time to work on building that network. Those friends, and tell those friends about your issues. Your friends will probably rally around you, or whoever your tribe is, if you have insight and you can explain, you guys, my abandonment issues are what's throwing me off. It makes me fearful when I'm not around you. So if you just send me a text, or if I feel like you have my back, that I can talk to you about this kind of thing can be extremely healing and help you move forward, not, really minimizing the abandonment issue. Whatever stage of life it was important, like whatever stage of life that it happened for you, it's important you recreate that in a sense. So let's say you were a teenager when you were abused, or some chaotic crisis happened as a teen, then it's important that whatever was fundamental going on, maybe you were absorbed in certain hobbies or interests, that you're allowed to explore those hobbies or interests. We're trying to close that gap that you couldn't close. And what you did was put fear in that. So the fear may have generalized to something you always wanted to do, a dream or a goal that you were never able to accomplish because of what happened and offset that normal situation. So when you can close that, it's going to be very helpful for you. And lastly, I think it's so important that you work with a mental health counselor. If the two of you can identify the stage where this happened, what areas were left out of you reaching your full potential of feeling secure and confident, you can recreate those as an adult. It will be so much better for you, and you will be able to work through this feeling more secure and more worthy of love, which is going to make your partner feel ecstatic. It's going to take the pressure off them, and you can kind of share that balance, get back to balancing that relationship a little bit better.